Let's move on to a more sobering subject, albeit, but Michigan. As we take a look at Michigan and what's going on in this program, it's not great news right now. Let's just run down what we've got going on. First and foremost, Jim Harbaugh officially announces that he is going to return as the Michigan head coach. That's good news. What's not good news is how it had to happen, because there was some dirty laundry aired, even if it wasn't publicly, it was implied between he and Ward Manuel, the athletic director. Now, we've been over that, and that's not even the worst thing that's happened so far in this offseason. There's other things that are going on. Namely, this week, their co-offensive coordinator, Matt Weiss, was fired abruptly after there was an investigation into basically computer issues and access issues. And so Matt Weiss is in some trouble. Now, I'm not going to get into like any of the details of that. We should all just say, like, you know what? We wish Matt well. I hope it's not as serious as what it kind of alludes to being. And we'll just let the legal process play out, and he's not going to be at Michigan anymore. So that leads you to believe, like, well, where does this offense go? He's the co-offensive coordinator. Does that leave a hole on this football staff? And to be honest with you, and not to sound insensitive, but I don't believe that it does. Really, because Sharon Moore, the other co-offensive coordinator, really was the guy that should have had the reins as the play caller all the way. And to be honest with you, probably did most of the time as we got into the back half of the season. Sharon Moore is an absolute superstar. I think he's one of the best young coaches in all of college football. I know who he cut his teeth under. I know he learned the game incredibly well. He's very bright. I enjoy my conversations with him. And as far as the offense goes, I just don't sense that they're going to miss a beat because they're missing Matt Weiss. Now it goes into like this Harbaugh NFL drama. The fan base started getting very upset with the athletic director, Ward Manuel, and I understand why, because it seemed like there, was a little bit of a tug of war between Jim Harbaugh and Ward Manuel in terms of, is he going to stay? Is he not going to stay? And Jim ultimately won that tug of war with the president getting involved and him staying. And to be quite honest with you, I felt like this was somewhat obvious. I've been one for the majority of the last month saying, no, I believe Jim Harbaugh is going to be back at Michigan. Really two reasons. Number one is I believe him. And he told me that right to my face. Now, fool me once, shame on me, whatever. Show me twice, shame on whatever. You understand the story. It wouldn't be the first coach that lied to me, but Jim seems like an authentic guy. And he told me that he wanted to be at Michigan. I believed him. Number two is, if you really wanted to be a head coach in the National Football League, like apparently the sources were saying, wouldn't you take the interview in person? I know I would. Like if Jim Harbaugh really wanted to be the Denver Bronco head coach, wouldn't he go interview in person? Why would you do a Zoom? Why would you do a Zoom? Any of us, if we're looking at a job that we desperately want, we would do anything to be there face to face in order to impress, in order to make the best impression and potentially get the job and hopefully get the job. I know I did it. Quick story. The year that TCU was in the Rose Bowl back with Red Rocket, Andy Dalton, Red Rifle, whatever they called him. I had a buddy of mine, he went to TCU and we decided, hey, let's go to the game. And in my mind, I was like, I've always wanted to meet a few of the executives at Fox in person. And I had never really done it, like the bigwigs at Fox. And there was one guy in particular that I wanted to meet face to face. And he said to me, Joel, I tell you what, I'm going to be executive producing a basketball game at Pauley Pavilion on the UCLA campus the day before the Rose Bowl. Like, why don't if you can get there by 7 a.m. that morning, like we can meet and we'll have a coffee. And I was like, done, got it. Well, the plan was I was going to fly to Phoenix and then connect because I didn't have any money at the time. We were going to connect into either like LA and get in there the night before and then everything was going to be set. Well, the connection through Phoenix all of a sudden evaporates. Whether we miss it and there's no flights. And I'm thinking to myself, what in the world are we going to do? Well, a one-way rental car was just too expensive all the way to Phoenix. So I conjured up this idea that, okay, we can get a one-way rental to Palm Springs, and then we can rent from Palm Springs, and then we can fly out of Palm Springs coming. So then that will be just a regular rental. Long story short, we had to drive through the night to Palm Springs, dump a car off, get a new car, and then drive to Poly Pavilion the next day. I ended up getting a speeding ticket right when I crossed the California border because it went from 70 to 60. I assumed to make some money. The grill of the first rental car fell off. Ended up costing me all sorts of money. I tried to stay and sleep in a Motel 6 for like an hour before the meeting. I ended up trying to shave. I cut my chin, threw a big Band-Aid on my chin. Why do I tell you this story? Because I was desperate to meet in person. If Jim Harbaugh wanted the job in the NFL, he would have interviewed in person. And I think that all of us that were looking at that knew that this was the likely scenario that he was going to come back and eventually land at Michigan, which he did. Now, the more serious issue at Michigan right now, and the one that I'm hearing more chatter about, is this whole notice of allegations from the NCAA. Again, it ain't been a very good week at Michigan. This notice of allegations from the NCAA seems serious. 4 violations. There's a level 1 violation, level 2 violation. Basically, if you haven't read about it, first of all, go and read about it. I'll try to boil it all down. There's a couple of very moderate violations. One that was self-reported. The other was like a contact issue during what was supposedly like a COVID dead period, which was a different dead period than the normal dead periods because of COVID. And then once the NCAA was investigating some of these things, there was an analyst that maybe like went out on the field and practiced or was coaching, and you're not supposed to do that. And so they reported themselves. And then during the investigation, some hard up investigator says well, I don't feel like Harbaugh is being forthright. And so here comes the NCAA, and they're trying to you're under investigation. I believe that you had contact during a dead period for COVID. What? Wait. What? So number one, let me get this straight. The NCAA still exists? All right. Well, news to a lot of us based on what's going on in the world of intercollegiate athletics, that the NCAA is going to step up and thankfully protect those kids from getting a text message, a Five Guys burger during a COVID dead period. Because, man, I just don't know if I could live if I knew players were being contacted during the COVID dead period. My goodness, because that COVID dead period, all of us were just so busy during that dead period, sitting in our sweatpants, trying to look at the 8 millionth Zoom of whatever we enjoyed. I was watching golf swings out the yazoo. I was desperate for someone to text me or call me during the COVID dead period. Now I digress. So the NCAA apparently is still out there. Hey, how about that? And for this? Wait. For a COVID dead period violation? So every article that I read that is Harbaugh is facing a penalty, a level 1 investigation, notice of infraction, it all sounds so official. It all sounds so serious. What did they do? Oh my gosh. Are they going to have to vacate wins? Is he going to be suspended? What's going on? COVID dead period? What are we talking about? And what, an analyst was coaching a player impermissible? I'm sorry. What are we doing? Have you not looked around college football? Because I have. And I can tell you from 2005 to 2023, this has gone completely nuclear as far as what the staff sizes around college football are. All over college football. Basically, the biggest programs in the country in 2005, if you looked at their team pictures, they'd have 25 staff people. it's like everyone takes their team picture. Some guys are like mean mugging it like this. You got the serious mean muggers. But then you got all the guys that are just the staff shirts, like the white shirts, and they're all smiling. They all have the comb over. They're all smiling like this, right? In the old days, they had the bike coaches shorts, but now not the bike coaches shorts. Now they're just like, and usually like khakis. Everyone wears khakis and they just smile, right? They smile. And there was like 20, 25, 26 staff members at like the biggest programs in the country. Now, just go flip through the internet and go look at like team pictures for the best programs, the biggest programs in the country, and just count all the white shirts. Count the white shirts, the staff people. For instance, and again, this is not a knock, but like I went and counted the Alabama team picture, the white shirts in their team picture in 2022. There were 61 white shirts. The staffs are enormous in college football. And the NCAA is going to be hard up because one of the analysts like coached a player when he shouldn't have. I'm like, aren't we there for the players' benefit anyways? I thought the NCAA's main goal was to be there for the benefit of the student athlete. But now you're telling me that these people that have an expertise in their field, you can't talk to the student athlete. You can't help them out. What are we doing? And this is what the NCAA is going to get upset about? Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoy that clip, make sure you click subscribe somewhere down here. From game highlights to exclusive interviews and rankings, we've got everything you need as a college football fan right here, College Football on Fox.